What do we know about Baltimore so far, and what's not changing about Baltimore is the air yards, the deep plays, the big touchdowns. That secondary has been awful.
We are back. It's the Joe Holka Show presented by FanDuel. Week 4, locks of the week, position by position. These are the DFS plays that we have to have exposure to. And per usual, lot to get to in this segment, but you're going to want to stick around until the end because we will be building a team live on FanDuel. That team will be entered into the Listener League, FanDuel.com/Holka. So make sure you get in there before it fills. $5, 3-entry max, rake free. You guys know the drill. Big prizes. I say it every week. One of the best prize structures in all of DFS. We review this contest every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. A little bit of a live coaching session with our community, so definitely join us next week. All I ask in return is that if you are a new player, maybe it's just been a while since you've tried FanDuel, is that you support the show by restarting that journey at my link, FanDuel.com/Holka. But let's get this thing back on the rails. Wouldn't be locks of the week without my good buddy from The Athletic, from Bets TV. You guys know him on Twitter at AllInKid, Jake Seeley. But let's not waste any more time. The quarterback position, your lock of the week, Kyler Murray. He's 7,800 on FanDuel. He's expensive on the road against the Rams. But Jake, not just Kyler that you want to talk about. Jake wants to talk about naked Kyler, which I promise you guys isn't as aggressive as it sounds. But Jake, tell the people what you mean.
Yeah, so naked Kyler is, I'm done trying to figure this out. You know, Hopkins is appealing, but at his price, he isn't getting the target share. This is a legitimate concern we were talking about in seasonal, is that what if Hopkins doesn't get 25%? And he hasn't been. And that even before last week, when he was essentially decoy-ish last week, he played through and he looked fine. They just didn't force him the ball. But that's the thing, is they also haven't, Kyler Murray, the offense hasn't been forcing the ball like they need to. He's very close in target share compared to Christian Kirk and AJ Green. And then if you factor in Rondell Moore and the other pieces, even Rondell Moore is pushing their heels because of the amount of time he's on the field. They evolve him a lot. So it's something that we've talked about in years past. It's, you know, it's the other version of Lamar Jackson is the better passing quarterback, but instead of trying to figure out who it's going to be, they just play Kyler Murray naked in a great game for what we projected the over-under to be. And I was looking at it, you know, I wanted to do Josh Allen, but if I do Josh Allen, I definitively want Diggs. If I do Lamar Jackson, he's a fun naked play, but only $200 more for Murray. I'm just going to go to Murray, especially with Lamar Jackson's back issue going on. I actually also thought about Jalen Hurts naked against the Chiefs, but they're a little bit better against quarterback at times. It can be an exploitable matchup, but at the same time, maybe a Devontae Smith. That would be the one other one I would think about. I would think I'd go about Jalen Hurts, but Devontae Smith is also here too anyway.
Yeah, we'll get to Smith in a second. People are probably tired of me talking about this, but I only get to talk about it for 1 week. So Stephon Diggs, I'm not happy with him right now, Jake, because I was a Stephon Diggs against Cooper Kupp away from winning $1 million last week with the Tilt Space boys. So
really?
tough 1v1 for us, but that's the way she goes. It was a Josh Allen stack. We can't be too upset about it. So this game, I think, shapes up to be like one of the more higher paced situations. So as we're talking about Arizona, like what do we do with Cooper Kupp and that price tag? I know we're not at the wide receiver sections yet, but I guess what are you doing with Cooper Kupp? I mean, he's more expensive than Devontae Adams. He's more expensive than all of those guys. I guess are they just like figuring out what is his price where people won't play him because he's been so chalky? I guess are you considering him that high? I don't know. It scares me personally.
It scares me. The good thing about it is that if you do Kupp and go with Stafford instead, you're getting the savings at quarterback. This is what you have to kind of think about sometimes too, is when you look at Kupp and you say, all right, versus Devontae Adams, $500. I don't know if I want to bite that. But at the same time, same thing with Tyreek Hill, $400 more than Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, a lot of opportunities, and he could have his big week with 150 yards and 2 touchdowns any given week. But look at it this way. If you go Diggs and Allen, if you go Hill and Mahomes, you're spending more than Kupp and Stafford. So it's a tough price, but if you're going for the stack, it's not as bad as if you look at it. And if you go in this game and you can say, well, Kyler Murray, and I want to play that side of it, and then the other side with Cooper Kupp, you're still at that expensive level. So I would say Kupp is definitely in play, but if I'm going Kupp, I'm just hoping that Stafford remains just throwing 1 billion touchdowns every week.
All right, let's move on to the running back position. Another expensive player that we have to talk about on locks of the week. Alvin Kamara, he's $9K on FanDuel at home versus the Giants. So interesting. I guess it does feel like a week where we're probably going to have salary to get to one of these elite options, especially on FanDuel. So why is it Kamara for you?
Because the Giants run defense, and this is actually one of the lowest scoring ones, so I think a lot of people aren't on this, but it's basically the Giants run defense, and right now Kamara's workload is among the top. Actually, he's on pace. Casey Joyner wrote about this for The Athletic and said in seasonal he would consider selling Alvin Kamara right now high, as in if you can get Kamara value, if you get top 5 running back value. He's not saying you can get better, but what he's saying is warranted, and Kamara's on pace for 50 more touches than he's ever had in his career, a career high. And that's even just if he was only the 16 game pace, not even the 17 game pace. They are giving him the ball and giving him the ball and giving him the ball. And that's concerning long term because a player like him could wear down or even potentially get hurt. But right now, I'm not that concerned about it. And if you look again, it's a Giants matchup situation. I would say price, that like when I come into the locks is like a lot of times I'll even sit here and say there are potentially better locks. Like I love Nick Chubb at 8,000. But some of my locks, I want to skirt a little bit on the side of some differentiation. And that's kind of like, I kind of like twofold it.
Right. I'm with you. I think that, touched the ball 28 times last week. People were a little bit scared after, probably a very tough Carolina run defense. We were just talking about that with Reeves. So if you're watching this video, definitely check out the Stacks video with Reeves. We kind of go into this game a little bit deeper. But I'm with you on Kamara, and I do think we're going to have the salary for it. Like I'm typically one of these guys that pays up for these elite running backs. We haven't seen like the crazy ceiling yet through the air, but he's still been getting in the end zone, at least on those receptions. So interesting spot against the Giants. I like the mini stacks for that game overall on both sides of it. So that'll be one we'll talk about a little bit more as the week goes on. Your other running back that you want to talk through in terms of your locks of the week, Deandre Swift, 7,700. We haven't seen him at this price point at a long time, but in Chicago. Tell us why he's your other running back of the week.
Because he's just dominating, as we thought DeAndre Swift, the player, could be on a per-touch basis. And you even heard from this team that they want to get him more work. You're about to see more DeAndre Swift, because the biggest concern we had for DeAndre Swift this year was Anthony Lynn and loving a split backfield and Jamal Williams being there, and Jamal Williams being a capable running back in his own right. But really what it's come down to is they've been the top 2 players with TJ Hawkinson. It's not even trying to figure out what wide receivers are out there. It's the 2 running backs and Hawkinson. And then Hawkinson even got left out of the one game, and these 2 have just been producing every single week. And the good news about it here is that Chicago's defense isn't as scary as it used to be. And on the flip side of it, now I will say I do have a little bit of hesitancy if Justin Fields is the quarterback, because again, I don't trust Nagy. And if that offense goes belly up, and then all of a sudden this is just a slow-paced game, I'm not worried about Detroit, because Detroit, honestly, if Fields is playing, could be in control and running the clock out. But running the clock out isn't always good for a running back. It's good if it's Joe Mixon and Najee Harris and these guys that are on the field 80, 90% of the time. If you have a split backfield against Chicago and this goes belly up in the first half, and for whatever reason Detroit is somehow running out the clock, that's where it could go sideways with DeAndre Swift. I just want to put that out there. But the involvement in the passing game, he's essentially right now, he's discount Christian McCaffrey when healthy.
I was going to say Kamara because he doesn't have as much of the rushing floor so far, at least in terms of touches. But
that's
dude,
a good way.
That's how it looks like. I was literally the exact comment I was going to make, so we're in line with that one for sure. Man, he's expensive, but I do think that he's
I
probably
think we're trolling you, by the way, by still having Christian McCaffrey in there at 8,000.
Yeah, probably. I guess speaking of trolling, Jake, normally before we get to wide receivers, normally I kind of trying to pull the reins back a little bit on you in terms of like talking about the likes and all that stuff. But one thing I will give you, I guess, a little bit of legroom on.
We haven't got to 150.
Well, we're not talking about likes here. This is actually a little bit more important, because I need you to bully people into subscribing on Apple Podcasts, because we got to get those numbers up somehow. I know you've had a podcast for a long time, but man, podcasts are really hard to grow. So go ahead, berate the people. Tell them to subscribe.
I mean, it takes 2 seconds. If you're already on the Apple Podcast, just hit subscribe. You don't even have to sit there. It's not like they force you to listen to every single episode. Just subscribe. Like it's less intrusive than YouTube, honestly.
All right, there's a link in the description if you guys want the audio version. It goes up quicker than some of the segments do throughout the week. So if you want to go ahead and go that extra mile, leave a rating and review. It would mean the absolute world. All right, your locks of the week at the wide receiver position. We're talking about Courtland Sutton. He's 6,300 on FanDuel at home against this Baltimore defense that has not looked like the Baltimore defense that we kind of remember. So tell us why he's your wide receiver lock of the week.
Because it's your second chance, both in seasonal, one to buy low in seasonal, second chance in DFS to get him at a discount price because it might be your last time because Cortland Sutton had an off game and everybody panicked. And off of it, what do we know about Baltimore so far and what's not changing about Baltimore is the air yards, the deep plays, the big touchdowns. That secondary has been awful. And it's been awful in what we love in fantasy. They're not just giving up a multitude of receptions and it's like, okay, well, it's just Jacoby Myers who never scores touchdowns anyway. No, it's big plays on top of touchdowns. One of the top 5 teams in allowing first downs and touchdowns percentage-wise on a reception basis. Like they just give up plays to the wide receivers. So Cortland Sutton at 63. And the fact that we have a Teddy that's throwing the ball downfield. I don't know if like Carolina did the first improvement and Denver's doing like the refinement to improve him a little bit more, but he's even throwing the ball downfield. Cortland Sutton against Baltimore at 63 is just easy.
Man, the price of like that, I feel like on FanDuel every week I fall in love with like 5 to 6 plays in like the 50 or like 6,300 range to like 5,700. But like sometimes those guys, it takes them like 2 or 3 weeks to get to the price that they need to be. So case in point, Cortland Sutton, just too cheap. And then I think we can move on from there. Another guy that's like in that same exact range that I really like, he's top 15 in weighted opportunity rating, Devonta Smith, 5,900 at home against Kansas City. We were going to talk about him, but he seems like one of like the glaring price points. Obviously, they played on Monday Night Football, so we basically didn't have the priced up Devonta Smith just yet. The air yards are there. All that stuff is there. But why is he, I guess, your cheaper lock of the week?
Yeah, so it's the weighted opportunity, also something unrealized air yards. So it's basically all the air yards headed your way versus what you actually caught being left on the field. Surprisingly, even after last week, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is number 1. But who's inside the top 5? Devonta Smith. He's actually tied with A.J. Brown to give you an idea of what's been left on the field for Devonta Smith. So that's really what it comes down to. It's a great thing to look for both in regression positively for seasonal and for opportunities like this when people are underpriced for their opportunity and what they could put up with a big play. You're like, again, unrealized air yards is one of the things I always look at. And Devonta Smith, top 5 on top of the fact against Kansas City. Not quite Baltimore, but in that same vein. And in a game that we do expect the pace to be high scoring on both sides of it. I think that Devonta Smith at 59. Actually, well, this is another situation where I was similar to Najee Harris week that we were doing.
Yep.
I was scrolling down and thought I passed Devonta Smith and the fact that I had to go sub 6,000 to get to him.
Yeah, like just to give you guys an idea of like what we're looking at here around this price point, I'll just show it on the screen here. We go to wide receiver, we scroll down, we keep going. So we got the Debos, we got the Cooks, we got Claypool, we got Marquise Brown. We have to keep going. We pass Cordero Patterson, we pass Christian Kirk. And then we get to Devonta Smith at the same price point as Kenny Golladay, just ahead of guys like Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders. I think Devonta Smith is one of the best plays on the entire board this week. I'll throw, I guess, an honorable mention to my boy Michael Pittman. Obviously, there's some concerns on the side of, I guess, what is Carson Wentz going to be able to do with this ankle the rest of the year? But man, 5,800 for a guy with the target share that Pittman's had, I would say that he's right there with Devonta Smith. I fall in love with these guys in this range every single week, but I'm with you on Smith, man. He's a great play. Anything else at wide receiver?
I think I still love Odell Beckham at 66 in that game too.
Yep. Harmon brought OBJ up as like he basically has rebounded pretty significantly in reception perception as well. So if you guys haven't checked out the video with Harmon going through some trending wide receivers, we went a little bit deeper into OBJ. But let's move on to the tight end lock of the week. Sounds like we're paying down for Dawson Knox, 5,600 on FanDuel at home against Houston. You know I'm on board with this one, Jake, because it's the highest team total on the entire slate. A tight end is always going to be a very touchdown-heavy position. So you have my support, but want to hear your thoughts on it.
On top of it, so there's something else to look at too. So there's a couple factors here. A lot of people are going to be rightfully on Conklin for $300 cheaper. But again, to pay back up, we're paying down, but we're paying back up to get differentiation because I think Conklin's going to be one of the chalk plays. But here's the real thing is for everybody out there, tight ends against cover 2 do really well. Cover 2 opens up a lot for that opportunity with that basically that area of the field. That's why you attack cover 2. Houston is number 2 at running cover 2. So I've been looking at Houston a lot. And if you look at their game log, granted, I think one of them, was that Kelsey already played them, right? I think so far. Somebody destroyed them. It was a tight end that was already really good. But point being, you want that. So that's where I kind of lean towards Knox, even if I had to toss up with Conklin because of that. and he's getting the volume right now. Now, of course, when we're in this range, Conklin, Tyson, Robert Tonyan, and all these kind of guys, honestly, Tyson, not Dawson Knox, they could all go sideways. But for 5,600, I'm willing to take that for what I'm going to get elsewhere. If I was paying up, obviously I want to get the Kelsey, but wow, 8,200 is just tough. That's tough to get to. As you're basically sacrificing your wide receiver one.
Yeah, I think the chalk is probably going to be someone cheap on this kind of range, or George Kittle, because George Kittle is 6,700, I believe, which is really cheap. It is harder to get up to Kelsey, so I'm definitely with you on that. Your defense lock of the week, the Chicago Bears, are 4,500 on FanDuel, so paying up for them a little bit at home versus Detroit. Let's hear why.
Yeah, there's a couple defenses actually. Like I think
There
Green
is.
Bay's sneaky at 42, but I feel like for what Green Bay has defensively, everybody's attacking Ben Roethlisberger, and rightfully so. But that one feels again chalky, and to trust the Green Bay Packers defense, I don't know. But again, all it takes is one pick. But that's where I'm going for. I'm going for the turnovers. I'm going to attack more quarterbacks like Jared Goff. As bad as we want to blast Ben Roethlisberger for playing, who's more likely to throw multiple or just basically have multiple turnovers? It's Jared Goff. So that's where I'm going in this game. I would like to get up to the Saints for that reason, going against Daniel Jones. But, with no Sterling Shepard, no Darius Slayton, they might pull back the reins in that. And also that I could see a slodge in that one because it's one of the best run defenses in the league. And if you limit Saquon Barkley, you're just limiting that entire offense. So there's a couple defenses I don't mind, but anytime I could go after Jared Goff for a modest price, I'll make that effort.
All right, now that it's out there, we have Jake's locks of the week. I want you guys to pause this video immediately, and I want you to go into the comments and tell me who your lock of the week is for week 4. Jake, you ready to build a FanDuel team?
I am ready to build a FanDuel. I'm ready to get you. Somebody thumbs down you, and it's probably for me. So now you need 14 good people to offset that, please.
I don't know. There's arguments that the thumbs down are just as good, so do whatever you guys want. Let's just say this. The team that we're about to build, it will be in the Listener League, FanDuel.com/Holka. So make sure you guys get in there. It will fill this week. I can almost guarantee it at that point. It is rake free, $5, 3 max, big prizes. Obviously, you guys know at this point, it's one of the best structures in all of DFS. You'll see lineups in there from Jake, TJ, and Rich in this contest. So Reeves and TJ currently at a negative $2 profit for the year. Jake, you're the only one so far that hasn't cashed, but I don't even mind that. It's very hard to build lineups this early in the week, that much we know. But it's going to take one big hit in this thing, I think, to really separate yourself. So we'll see. Is there a guy that you like? Who is like the guy that you are? He's like your first guy in. I know you already have built your lineup, like you do the same thing every week. But who is like the first guy in? Like this is the locks of the week segment, so I figured that would probably be a good place to start.
Yeah. So Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray, first guy in. Are you going naked Kyler? I have to know before we even continue.
Here's the issue: is the Christian Kirk matchup was better last week. The Rondell Moore matchup is better this week. If I'm playing a tournament, I'll plug him in there. I would just go naked Kyler this week, honestly.
Okay, sounds good. Let's walk me through. I guess you already have it built. So who is your defense? So we'll plug that in.
No, I've been playing with it a little bit.
Okay,
honestly.
Cool. Let's plug in some defense so that I can get a better idea of what we have left as well.
Some defense?
Some cheaper defense or whatever you already had on your
show. I'm going to go even cheaper. Like, let's see what we can do with this lineup. Maybe I can play. Maybe this will be the twist is that I didn't finish it in advance. Let's go Miami against Carson Wentz's non-ankles.
Okay, I like it. 4K for Miami against Carson Wentz's non-ankles. All right, so which direction do you want to go next?
Let's go back to running back.
Okay.
Let's smash that in there. I do want to go Alvin Kamara. But let's do DeAndre Swift too, and I think the flex position is going to be where it's interesting to see which way we go.
Okay, so now we're at 6,200. We're going to need some savings. Is there like a guy that you think
Devonta and Sutton?
They're way too cheap,
That's
right?
Easy.
Well, we both have both those guys. So Devonta, and we can't play Pittman on this one, obviously, if we have the Miami defense. So we got Sutton and Devonta.
I really wouldn't want Pittman anyway.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Let's hear the Pittman. Is it the Carson? Is Carson, I guess, that much of a
detriment?
That's
really what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely it's Carson. It's just not being able to get too excited with the way that he looked. I mean, he was already immobile since his injury started racking up, and now on top of it, this point, it's like standing in mud inside the pocket right now.
I do this every year, Jake. I see like the unrealized air yards, the weighted opportunity, all of this stuff. I did it with the Jets guys last year. Like it comes down to sometimes there's quality targets that we have to take into account here. So it's a situation where I'm just getting excited over something that probably doesn't have as much upside as it seems then, because that's kind of what I'm feeling a little bit now. Because I think Reap said the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is you're looking for like the situation is there partly because of Wentz. Like it's a little bit different when you talk about some of those other teams, and you can talk about all right, just haven't connected. Like Aaron Rodgers just corrected it. Like it was even worse for Valdez-Scantling before last week, and that corrected because Aaron Rodgers and him got in the same pay. There's honestly 2 touchdowns he could have had in the first 2 games, but those will correct because of the quarterback. I just have no faith in Carson Wentz right now. He's essentially, I don't want to say toast, but until he's healthy, he is honestly.
Okay. So we got 3 slots left, 6,300. We got wide receiver, tight end, and then a flex. So which direction do you want to go next? These lineups with naked quarterbacks, Jake, they always look weird to me because like I'm such like a structural like correlation type of builder for tournaments.
No, I'm gonna change that. So we're gonna change it. We're putting Rondell Moore in. We're going back to Moore for 53.
I like it
for a reason.
He's 5,300. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Right back to that. I like that we have a lot of flexibility in the afternoon also.
I'm not saying I expected it to be as bad as it was for Rondell Moore last week, but Rondell Moore was in the tougher matchup last week. Christian Kirk's got the tougher matchup in his situation this week, and Christian Kirk could honestly see, I mean, he's going to be playing more outside in this one, so that's where I'm going for Rondell Moore to avoid the outside.
Okay. Interesting. So we have 6,800 the rest of the way now, so definitely a little bit more to play with.
So Dawson Knox now. Yeah, that's the easy one.
I like this is like almost, it's not quite stars and scrubs, but like, man, like you're able to get in Kamara here, you're able to get in Kyler, like there's still a lot of firepower for this. 8K in the flex, so you're looking at Nick Chubb, Stephon Diggs, Tyler Lockett, Justin Jefferson, so all the heavy hitters at wide receiver outside of Chubb, basically.
Yeah, so I might play with this lineup after I get off with you, and if I can find a way to get Murray out for Josh Allen, I'll put Diggs in, but because I can't get Allen in and I only have Knox, I'm just going to put Chubb in for now.
Jake Seeley, everyone. Before you go, I want to remind you that I give away sports memorabilia every single week for free, so check out this video right here next to see what I pulled from the Week 4 Pristine Auction mystery box. You won't regret it.